Hey lovely sex hobby people, welcome to today's video, which is going to be issues 37 and 38 of Warhammer Combat Patrol. We get our Hellbrute in this issue. I'm keen to see how much it differs from the Hellbrute that we got from the Dark Vengeance box set, and what extra bits and pieces we get with it. There are some things here, like I can see a twin linked Reaper autocannon. Obviously the multi-melter, which is what we got with the Dark Vengeance set, and a plasma cannon. So it's going to be interesting to see what we end up with. But come and join me and we'll have a look. Lovelies, shall we have a look at the Hellbrute that we get with issues 37 and 38. Now, I already have a Hellbrute because I have the Dark Vengeance box set. But that was very much a push fit miniature, and this is a multi-part one. So let's pop that aside. Let's get this so that we can do the review. And as per usual, we're straight in with the build section. And straight away, this seems to, this seems to go together slightly differently to the standard Dreadnought. Certainly with the body here being made up. Looks like we've got a choice of heads that can go into the open maw on the front of the Dreadnought Hellbrute sarcophagus. We have a choice of horned crowns as well. That's cool. Legs go together in a similar way, which is nice to see. And then we have our arm sections. Now, looking at this, it looks like each arm section is different to for each heavy weapon. And looking at this, I'm going to go with the plasma cannon because I like it. I like a plasma. I'm not too sure if I'm going to definitely go, and we're back to, oh, I'm crying out loud, we're back to this, are we? I'm not too sure if I'm going to stick with the hammer. I might go in for a corrupted power fist. I mean, the hammer's great and all, but I'm tempted to change it. Tempted to go for something different. We then have Chaos Space Marines number 10 in our read H section for red. Path to Glory. And we have our Hellbrute here, Legionnaire, Cultist, Traitor Astartes, Demon Prince. We get a Demon Prince with the premium kit. Cultist submitted to a dark ritual that went awry. Now they must live out their days as tortured and grotesque torment. This former Sorcerer Lord was too greedy and could not bear the gifts that they begged their master for, eventually degenerated into Chaos Spawn. Okay. Dark Descent Part 2. So this is the continuation of the fiction of the Eldari against the Black Legion. And then we have our Hellbrute. So you have a D6 rolling chart to naming table. And you you have a unit name. I do apologise if you can hear banging. Somebody's working outside. And then our data sheet. So a 6-inch move, toughness 9, 2 up save. It's got 8 wounds. It's a leadership 6+ and an objective control 3. The Hellbrute plasma cannon, blast hazardous. I'm not seeing a is it overpowered version that you can get on the loyalist ones? Overcharged? I'm not seeing a version for that. It's just 36 inches, D3 attacks, 3+ ballistic skill, strength 8, -3 AP and 3 damage. Deployment abilities for our core rules. Deep strike, infiltrators, scouts, and leader. Oh, come on. Excuse me a second. Let me just go and get something that hopefully will be able to stop this. So, for anybody else that's been collecting this, let me know if you're having the same problem I'm having with the hole punches. Because this is getting to be beyond a joke. You know, at least 1 or 2 issues in every delivery now, I'm having issues with where it's being punched out. And rules to come. So, stratagems, treaty reserves, terrain features, and aircraft. Space Marines combat patrol rules, enhancements, secondary objectives, and stratagems. Oh, come on. Right, here we go. So enhancements, champion duelist, default enhancement, and then optional enhancement is Oathsworn Determination. Default secondary objective is Wrath of the Emperor, and then the optional one is Shock Tactics. Stratagems, Gene-wrought Resilience, Veteran Instincts, Duty and Honour, and then Tyranids, enhancements, secondary objectives, and stratagems. So we have default enhancement is Psychostatic Veil. Optional enhancement is Secretion Goad or Goad. Default secondary objective is Alpha Xenoform, and then optional secondary objectives is Chitinous Tide. And then stratagems is Hyperreactive, Voracious Assault, and Teeming Broods. And then we're looking forward to issues 41 onwards, 41 to 60. It looks like we are going to be getting our Orcs and Leagues of Votan. And we're going to be getting 2 extra battle mats. One in issue 41 and one in issue 61. And then obviously second part of the Hellbrute in issue 38, but we get 5th Wraith Guard in 39. Then in 40 we get our Chaos Terminators. Right, so how to paint. Again, this is going to be for Black Legion, but we are looking at how they're painting this, and they're going with a squig orange for the skin tone. and then painting all your pipework and metallics that are not going to be gold. Coming in for a flesh tone, Rakarth Flesh, to paint the covers that go over some of the pipework, the fleshy covers. And yeah, here we go. And at the end of that, you will have your Hellbrute looking like that. Then we're talking about Warzone Nephilim. So battlefronts within Nephilim, and then a nice star map. Dramatis Personae, so Bobby G, Rabuti Gilliman, Illuminor Zeras, who's with the Necrons, the Silent King, which is with the Necrons, and Ephriel Stern, one of the Sisters Battle. We have Favoured of the Gods, so talking about Death Guard here, and Emperor's Children and Thousand Sons. And then we're talking about Nurgle, the Lord of Pestilence and Disease. Feculent Gnarlmore, Poxbringers, Plague Drones of Nurgle, and Rotigus. Then we're into more rules, so stratagems, talking about different ones that you can take and use within your game for your army. And then we have Scenario 24, Gauntlet of Pain. We're using the 2 battle maps that we have already, and you are using the Hellbrute by the look of it. So a crazed Hellbrute has broken away from the army of Chaos Space Marines. Driven to madness by his torment, he blunders away from the safety of their lines, encountering a diverse range of surprise troops from several different enemy armies. To play Gauntlet of Pain, set up your battlefield as shown below, then follow the deployment instructions. The game ends when the Hellbrute is destroyed and the final score is indicated on the scoring track. The scoring track and the stage table are on the next page. They will be needed regularly, so keep them to hand while playing. Deployment. The Chaos Space Marines player places their Hellbrute in the location shown. The opposition player consults the table on the next page, and places the stage 1 models in the opposition deployment zone. So we've got 2 battle maps. We've got battle map 1, battle map 2. The Hellbrute is in the centre of battle map 1, and then you've got a short board edge, and like first tiles of that battle map are going to be for opposition deployment. Have a look. Here we go. Stage table, and then your scoring track. So it looks like per stage you're going to be having lots of different things turn up, starting with 2 Infernus Marines and 5 Guardian Defenders, then 2 Wind Riders, then 1 Terminator, 1 Von Rhein's Leaper, 1 Wraith Lord, 1 Captain in Terminator Armour, 1 Tyranid Prime, 1 Chaplain on Bike, 4 Terminators, and 1 Psychophage. Boons to Chaos. So it says here, as the Hellbrute carves its crazed path through the enemies, the Chaos Gods look on with interest and amusement. During the battle, each of them grants a single boon to the Hellbrute that can be used once throughout the game. The Chaos Space Marine player can choose to use any of these boons at any point during the game. So you can only use them once, but you can use any of them during the game. And then obviously you can customise your own table. Hellbrute defeat or Hellbrute victory. outcomes, and the same look forward to that we got in issue 39. And then obviously 39 is our Wraithguard Chaos Terminators. Let's have a look at the plastic, shall we? So we get this 65mm base. Now, interesting to note that this is not the sculpted base that older dreadnoughts had. So they used to, when you bought a dreadnought, you used to get like a concreted section which was kind of split into slightly undulating levels. This is a sculpting date of 2013. So this came out after Dark Vengeance. Now, we have lots of stuff here. So all of these sections here, I believe, will marry up to different weapons with regards to which one you use, from what I can tell. So depending on the weapon that you select, whether it be the multi-melter, the Reaper cannon, or the plasma gun, you'll have a different mounting, shoulder mounting. But also, depending on whether you use the hammer or the power fist, or I believe you can have mechadendrites coming out. Depending on which ones you choose, you've also got different shoulder mounting there as well. I'm probably going to go with the power fist and plasma gun. I already have a Hellbrute with a melter gun and power fist. Oh. So this is the Hellbrute from Dark Vengeance. Needs a dust. So we have the multi-melter and the power fist here. I'm thinking that I would be quite happy with a second one in similar configuration, but swap that weapon out for a multi-melter. I may look to see how easy it may be to magnetize the shoulder joint so that I can do swap out the weapons if I so choose, but I'm probably going to keep the power fist as my weapon of choice for the Hellbrute and not go with the hammer in this instance. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think I should take the hammer, if it's more effective. But yeah, shall we go to the desk and get this abomination built? Here we go. Right, building the Hellbrute. Now, there's quite a few bits and pieces that I need to make sort of like a sub-assembly. So we're going to start off with the sarcophagus. And the first thing is I'm going to stick the head into its recess here. I'm going to need a lamp for that. So I'm just going to white you out briefly. And that's going in like so. So you will have your head there, and I'm going to add in some extra glue just to really make sure that it is stuck. So bingo. So there you go. Now, there's a few things here that I'm not going to stick on. So we've got this front bit, which I'm fairly certain isn't really going to matter too much. But I want to leave that off to paint it separate. I've got these 2 armour panels which go onto the back of the power pack here. And they're going to remain off. I will blue tack them to a lolly stick once I have sprayed them with the undercoat primer. But we have our waist section here. That will be glued. So there we go, waist section. Now the sarcophagus and main body builds up in sections. So we glue in this section together here. And I think the easiest way to do that is just put some glue on each of these bits and then marry that up, come on, like thus. Get that married up, and then from there I will just make sure that it is stuck in place. We then have the back of that going on. And I think we'll do the same again. We'll just add in a little bit of glue there and there, and then just marry it up like so. And this goes into this. Now I just need to check which way round this is going. So it's going on like that, and that at the front. Yeah, no, that's fine. Like that. Now, when it comes to it, these shoulder joins will be placed into the body like so. Now it says in the instructions that these get glued in after you've built this, the way that you've built it, basically. That's probably the wrong way up. Let's try this side. Oh, that looks better. Oh yeah, there you go. Right, so that they glue in there. Now the thing is that if we take this arm that I have made, because it's a spare combat arm, the thing is that these panels actually provide 2 positions, one in a kind of low port position and the other in a high port. So kind of way. And if we can find one, say that one, and that, yeah, so that's changed the position of the arm slightly. One thing I didn't notice when I was looking at the sprues is that you do actually get two close combat arms, basically. So you get two power fists. I don't know if that's an option within the Chaos Space Marines Codex for, you know, a basically two power fist Hellbrute in the same vein of the Brutalis Dreadnought. Which has two close combat arms, but I'm going to try and figure out a way to make it so that I can swap out some of these bodies, and I think magnets are going to be the go-to. Drilling into this, I think, might be a real pain, but I'm going to give it a go and see what happens. I can only mess it up once, as they say. And then we've got another one. So that's how that would look. So when it comes to it, I will make a decision about the arms and the shoulder joints. Now, so these bits, we've got the crown, so those bits are going to be undercoated separately. Coming into the legs, we have this main assembly here. And again, there's some bits here that I am not going to glue onto this because I want ease of painting. The problem I've got is that we've got this massive seam line going down the flesh part of the leg, which is a real nuisance. So that's kind of like my first port of call to glue and hopefully get a little bead that I can trim away and end up with a flush fit. It's not so much of an issue on the inside because that's mostly going to be covered and not so easy to spot. So we've got these shin pads, and again these are items that are going to be sprayed separately. We've got these button groin guards, codpiece, and again painting those separate. And then we have the feet here. Now the feet should only go on one way, so you shouldn't mess it up, okay? Because of the way that the pistons are arranged, if you try and put the foot on round the wrong way, you won't be able to seat one of the pistons, but the feet will fit either foot, okay? Not too much of an issue. Dab in there, dab in there. So that is actually the front of the Dreadnought. And actually, I lie, that's the front of the Dreadnought. Get it right. And the reason that that is the front is because on one of these shin pads you've got a hole, and that hole will, in theory, allow you to have this spike come through. Okay, so there's your feet, I will stick that to the base. And and yeah, I do make sure that something like the base has plenty of glue on it, because I don't want this guy coming off. And then when you're ready, that will seat into there. There's not a lot of sideways movement. On my other dreadnoughts, I normally drill in a magnet, one there and then one in there, but because there's not a lot of movement here, to be honest, I don't think it's going to be worth it. So I'm not going to do that. So that is that. Now, let's move on to a couple of the little ancillaries that I need to put on here. One of them is the crown, and that goes on like so around the top. And again, I'm just going to check and make sure that that's not going to impede me being able to put that into position. No, that's fine. Right, so that is going to go there. Like so. I need to, because they're ultra small parts, I need to just trim out some pistons and some exhaust stacks. So come back in a sec and we'll get those done. Okay, lovelies. Now, legs, that's what I want next. Right, so I've already done one piston which goes in the back here. I'm not going to show you both because you don't need to show me both because they both go in the same way. Now, the easiest way I found to do this is to place your piston in its little socket at the toe joint here. Okay, and then all I did was just pull it forward slightly so that the peg locates into the hole. And then I'm just going to add in a bit of glue. So that's how I did the pistons on the back. Slightly more of an aggravating job is this exhaust. Now, these are fiddly and there are no tabs to ensure that you get correct alignment. So I found that the easiest way to do this was soften up your plastic on each side of the exhaust stack here with your plastic weld, and then marry up the halves. You get a certain amount of time, play time, before it sort of like solidifies, as it were, and sets, and you don't get the wiggle room. So once that's done, as I say, there's no tabs on this, but there you go. All right, and once that was done, I then just made sure that I added glue on the inside and just a little bit up top. This then will go, and there's two little dimples here that these pipes go into. So I find the easiest thing is to add your glue into the dimples, put your pipes into the dimples, and then add your glue to the base. And that's how I did it on the other side there. And that is how I did the exhaust stacks. So that's what we have thus far. Weapon arms. Now, I have, let me just see if I can find I apologise if you can hear my neighbour, I have got the windows open. Now, I have this weapon arm, which I did have the right way around just then. Right, so that's going to be that way round. And what happens is the, get back in there, weapon arm itself will attach that. Now, this is the Reaper cannon, which can attach to this. The plasma cannon can attach to that as well. And then we got the multi-melter, which I think can attach to that, or is that upside down? That might be upside down. That might be the other one. So that might be the other one. Now, that is very much a multi, is like multi, multi-appendage taker. It's a multi-purpose bracket for different weapon systems. So I think I can magnetize this, but also I will seek to magnify this part as well. So let's get this glued up. So it sounds like they're having a bit of a Barney outside. One of their kids is definitely disagreeing with their parenting style. Now, here's the plasma gun. Plasma gun is just basically two halves. And typical. Glue, you stupid thing. And then across the bottom. Like that. So that's that. The bit that I was talking about was some of these other weapon systems, this is the bracket for it, and that's just two halves that join together, and the bracket looks like that. So these weapon systems, these other weapon systems, that we have, this, because this is the multi-purpose arm, this would attach onto that, and then these other weapon systems, which wouldn't attach on directly like these do. So this bracket, this has already got the bracket built in, but we've got other weapon systems, like we've got these heavy bolters would go in there like so. We've got these las cannons that would go in there. So I think magnetise this bit, magnetise that, magnetise these for this weapon system, and then these, this multi-melter, the plasma gun and the auto cannon, magnetise those so that they can sit direct onto that weapon arm. So that's what I'm planning for that. Now we also have a missile launcher which sits onto the other side. So let me just have a look. Is that going to fit on there? No, that's not the right one. That one is though. So that one's going to fit on there, and then the missile launcher will go on like so. And the problem I've got is there's a lot of cables that will come out and stick into different places. So I need to look and see which weapons have which cables will need to go to the weapon mount. So for example, on this, I would need to look and see what weapon mount, what cables go into these cable ports here in order for me to have those fixed onto this all the time. And then if there's a cable, a universal cable which comes out of here and into the weapon systems, then I should just glue it straight to this rather than trying to glue a lot of different individual cables, because there might be two systems that use the same cable, and if I glue it to one system I can't glue it onto the other. But there we go. Right, I need to have a sit down and look through the instructions again and decide what else we're going to do. The other thing we've got is, as I said, we've got these close combat arms, and these already have attachments here, so these will be easy to deal with. And looking at these, so this goes together in a very similar way to the one which is on the opposite side. So you're just gluing it. Come on. So you're just gluing it, she said. There you go. So glue, glue, glue. And then actually get the right part to glue this time. Like so. We then have these thumbs, or fingers I should say, which just slot in there. And then you have a choice. You can either, you've got these like back of the hand covers which can go on, it's just got spikes, but there is also something on the sprue which would allow you to have covers which include a storm bolter to go onto these. So I haven't decided which way I'm going to go around it. It might be easier to just add the storm bolters on, because I can always turn around and say that it hasn't got it, and rather than trying to turn around and say that it has got it, but when they aren't there. Now we've got our hammer here. I don't know if this is classed as a thunder hammer or a seismic hammer or what, but again, fairly simple construction. The hammer head comes in 2 halves. So that's going to get glued. And then we've got part of the flesh going from the bicep through the elbow joint to the forearm here, and that will sit in like that. Like so. And then, and I can't remember if I need to use this for something else, so I'm not going to glue it on just yet. But you have this, which would glue on like that, I think. So that would go into position there, which would then allow you to obviously attach that to the shoulder. This is a lot more complicated than a standard Space Marine Dreadnought. Hey, right, we have done some magnetizing. Now, the way I did this was I took the shoulder assembly, you can see the magnet in there, and I drilled an appropriate hole. In this case I've used a 3mm magnet, I think it is, 3 or 4mm magnet by 2mm. And then what I did was, for every weapon attachment that was going to be part of that arm, I basically held it in position. Is that the right one? That's the one. I held it in position, and then, because I'd already pre-drilled this, held it against that, and then marked where I needed to drill for the magnets to go in. Okay, and I did that. I did that with this side as well. Now I've glued this side on so that I can swap weapons out. So if we take a look, this is what it will look like with two power fists in place. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue in this, because I don't need it out now. So I'm going to glue this into position. So just make sure that that is in. And believe it or not, this is actually reasonably easy to magnetize with regards to the weapons. So what we have is the torso, and I can now magnetize that. And I've done the missile pod as well. And then on this side we have this singular attachment, and this singular attachment, I've got an extra magnet in there that I don't need. Come out. Thank you. Stick that on there. Right, so this singular attachment is the one which will hold. Now I've drilled and magnetized there, and then we've got 3 attachments for weapon systems. So we've got the multi-melter that goes on, the plasma cannon that goes on, and then the Reaper cannon. But then you've also got this attachment here that attaches, and then you've got the heavy bolters that can go into there, and the las cannons as well that can go into that space. And again, if I just pop that into position, and then that magnetizes into position like so. Obviously, because of the way that this is moulded, you can't rotate. What you do have though is, as I said previously, there's two versions of these shoulder joints which allow you to have different arm positions. Like, so this is what I would consider a level shooting stance, so you could consider this as low port, and then I believe there's another one which is high port, which is kind of like angled up like that. But that is how I've done the weapons on this particular Hellbrute, and it's nice to have those options. I'm just sticking the torso to the legs, so that's that there. Because I quite like these arms, I'm going to just stick them on. Now, we have a number of shoulder caps. So we've got this one which has a ridge which goes onto the multi-purpose weapon arm. So that one. And then we've got these, which can be used on the shoulders for these. And you've got this one, which is spiked. So I'm going to use this one on one of the shoulders. I'm just going to let that go off. So I'm going to use it on this one. But I'm just going to check positioning for this, because I think that will kind of go on like so. And that is positioned how I want it. And then just where that is meeting the flesh on the arms, just add in glue to make sure that we've definitely got a good bond. Says that one, and then this one will go on kind of like that. And again, just to make sure I've got a really good bond. So, and then those guys will go on. Now, there are some special things that need to go on these arms, and of cabling that I need to do coming in, and some of these weapon assemblies have cable attachments. Now this main one here, which is the multi arm attachment for all these different weapon fits, you got a cable which comes out here and goes into the body there. I'm not actually going to glue it to the body so that it remains easily swappable. But I am going to glue it in there. This panel isn't glued on because I want it I want to be able to paint it separately before I glue it onto the body of the dreadnought. So working from this position so that I can see, I'm just going to bring my lamp in. So I'm working from the position where the dreadnought head is essentially facing me, and what I'm going to do is I've got my cable. What I want to do is attach it like so. It's attached there, and then I can just pop it on and off. Now, because I've chosen different shoulder pieces, some of these other cables aren't actually marrying up to the body. So what I'm going to do with these close combat arms is I'm going to put on these little vials, I'm assuming, and they can just be, you know, we can just turn around and say they're full of combat stims or something. Wouldn't put it past Chaos to do such a thing. So that, there's one there, and then there's one on the back here. So I've done that, and that will be the other arm that goes on. I've done it for the other close combat arm as well, so that it goes on and you can see the vials and the positions there. And let's take that off because that should be reasonably safe to do so. And then this one will attach. Oops, come on. Like so. And then you've got the vials. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to work around now, do the rest of the cables, and then we can do the turntable shot.